Hello, this is Dean Radin, and I'm on Your Superior Self.
Hi, I'm Anita Murjani, and this is Your Superior Self.
Hello, this is Dr. Raymond Moody, and this is Your Superior Self.
Hi, Cultural Creatives. I'm Bruce Lipton, and I'm here to join you with Your Superior Self.
This is Paul Selig, and this is Your Superior Self.
What's up, everybody? I'm Aubrey Marcus, and this is Your Superior Self.
What is up? This is Katie Barnett, and we are listening to Your Superior Self.
Katie, how are you, my friend?
I'm awesome. How are you?
Doing well. I mean, this is going to be fun because you're a podcaster. You got an amazing podcast yourself. Level After Next. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you guys subscribe to that right now. She is crushing it over there. You can get this wherever podcasts are
all
held,
over the place
right?
now.
All over the place. So yeah, make sure to check her out, guys. Katie, thank you for taking the time. This is going to be an awesome conversation.
I'm excited. Thank you for having me.
Let's talk about your journey, right? Like, man, you've done everything, right? Like, I mean, how did you start out? Let's go there.
I mean, how far back are we going?
3 kids, right?
Got 3 kids.
Yeah, I got 3 kids. I can feel that, right?
Yeah. They're very close in age. And so, I mean, not like there's closer, and I get that, but they're 5, 7, and just turned 10. So yeah, there was a time there right at the beginning, actually, of when I really stepped into entrepreneurship and starting a business and all that, where they were all very little. And I'm not sure really how I got through it, but I did. And honestly, it made me so much better.
Mm-hmm. What's your business?
Right now, I'm actually in network marketing, which is fun and funny. But I made a big shift a while back, and it's a different kind of business. And so I have a lot more time to kind of do a lot of other things. And I work as like a personal branding coach, and that can go for branding yourself online, which is typically how people find me, and they want help, figuring out a look and how to start and where to go and what the story's going to be and all of that, how to bring in their business or figure out what their business is going to be, really. And at times I've done kind of online marketing for bigger companies, which is really fun. And but I think that what's really funny is that having that conversation when it comes to branding, it doesn't really have to be about a color scheme and how you're going to make your pages look or what you're going to focus on when you're making stupid little videos that are what we all have to do now, I guess. I don't know.
You're the authority. You got to tell us, like, are we supposed to be doing that?
We have to do it. I don't know. And like, I'm actually working with a new up and coming company who has a new platform that I'm so super excited about. You can start following them. They're called Made on Braid on Instagram, but it's just called Braid It. And it's so cool that I hope that the whole world grasps this concept, because it's going to be a lot of fun. So that's been exciting because I just get to play around in it and give feedback and tell them, a million things that I would do differently. So
what is it again? What do? You just make, like, I'm so out of it as far as tech.
So it's a social media platform. It's called Braid It or Braid. And it's basically, I mean, it's hard to explain if you haven't used these different apps, but it's a lot like Marco Polo. Have you ever used that?
I use Instagram. That's it.
Instagram, that's all we know. So Marco Polo is like video messaging, and it's kind of like on your time. So if somebody sends you a video message, you can watch it either as they're doing it or later and then respond later. So it's this ongoing conversation that doesn't have to take place at one place at one time. And so that's nice. Like, as a way to communicate with friends, you don't have to FaceTime, but you can be on at the same time. So it's a little bit of that. I see a lot of benefit as a leader and being able to continue conversations. You're going to be able to use links to share like interviews that you do. So it's a lot of interview style. But you could use it to follow, I don't know, some kind of ridiculous trial that's being aired all over.
You sound like my wife.
We won't get into it. I have strong opinions, but
really, what are your strong opinions? I'm just curious.
Oh God, are we going to do this really? I might really turn people off from my podcast. I don't talk about it, but no, I'll tell you, I think that I am disappointed in humanity for even taking part in something like this.
Mhm.
I think that it was really clear that both of them are sick individuals and need a lot of help. Sad for me to watch this get played out on national news and have people take part in the conversation as if they have any idea what it would be like to be in an abusive relationship. And many people do, so then there were those who had to watch that and deal with that. And
Mhm.
it was too much. It was too much. And for people to have opinions and strong opinions, I
agree. I
was
agree with you. I
disappointed.
agree with you. I think that we spent too much energy on the wrong things, especially what's been going on in the recent weeks with what occurred in Texas.
Right. Right.
I think we need to, shift our awareness to more important things, right? Not just,
we've got Ukraine, we've got
yeah,
Valdi, we've got all of these things, and people were glued to this and talking about it, and I couldn't avoid it. And it would
Mhm.
I hated that. And
Mhm.
I do avoid, I turn down the noise on the things that are going to lower my energy level and not feed my soul and provide value, and to
Mhm.
just like passively have to like receive information and opinions and videos of things that I just don't want to see. It was just a disappointment. It was a disappointment
I
that so many
agree,
people
right?
were
Like,
involved in it.
I agree, but I'm all for standing up for yourself, but in the manner that it happened, I don't need to wreck someone's life, or I don't know. See, again, right? Like I'm too far disconnected from it to really know the particulars on that subject. It just seemed to me that it was a show, really.
It was
And
two narcissists having a show. I
yeah,
mean, and that doesn't mean that I don't have opinions on the things that were talked about. And it sounds like I was like fully invested in it. I wasn't, but when I started finding myself forming opinions based on what I was just absorbing through
yeah,
social media, and I'm not somebody who scrolls and loves to like get involved in that kind of stuff. I use social media for work. I use it for connection. I use it for networking. I use it to learn. And so for that being my place on social media and to still get this stuff and start to form an opinion, I was like, I actually need to learn a little bit more about this. And then I did, and it just further disappointed me.
Well, then again, right? Like, how much of that is manipulated too,
Right.
a lot of that. So again, here we are, Russia's doing it again. They're manipulating the news and social media, giving us false opinions about things that we have no idea what's really going on. Energy, soul work. I love that you brought that up. What is your current routine? What does that look like for you, right? Like do you have an early morning routine?
I do. I wake up early. It's much easier when my kids go to school. Now I'm kind of like, oh gosh, this is gonna have to get changed up a little bit, and I'm prepared for it. I've done it before, but it's always like there's like a re-entry when it comes to summer, right? So I'll be working on it this week. But yeah, like my best morning starts somewhere around 5:30 or so, and it's gonna involve like just centering myself, something positive. Because of my job, because I work with many people on the East Coast, and if I were to pick my phone up at 5:30, it would be full. I mean, they've been working for the last 2 hours, so I have to find my center at that point. And so that can be anything from prayer, meditation, to reading something that is not work related, but personal development related. And then I go typically to what I try and do is put my workout clothes on and go get a ride in. So I have Peloton, and that's my saving grace these days, even though I'm in a beautiful area for working out outside. It's just easier to get it knocked out. And my kids like me a lot more when like I stick to that morning routine. They're like, I'm like pancakes for breakfast and I have everything. Like I have my day together. There's that point where you're your subconscious, has so much to do with everything, like who you become, what your future is going to be. And I mean, that's a whole podcast in itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
But learning about that and then learning about the times during your conscious thought or subconscious thought that are most important to kind of training your brain to help you move in those directions. It's right before you fall asleep and it's right when you wake up.
Sure.
So that's important because how many people right before they fall asleep are scrolling their phone, or worrying about stuff that they need to worry about when you could be just like I have this amazing business coach. I've been working with him for almost a year now. And the exercise that he has me do at night is to basically imagine the life, right? That like, not like the perfect, like, I have 4 houses on the beach and like whatever, but just like the life that brings you peace and happiness, like how you feel. And you have these stories for each kind of part of your life, like the work life, the home life, the active life, how do I want to feel when I look in the mirror? And so what he suggests is just spending that time, that subconscious falling into sleep time, just like living through like a day in that life, and it's funny because I know what they are now in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And, I see the kitchen and I see that it's like,
is your
the
business
morning
coach
is the same.
Neville Goddard? Is that his name?
It's not. His name is Chris Dedian.
Have you ever heard of Neville Goddard?
It sounds really familiar. I feel like maybe he's brought him up to me before.
So imaging, like what you're doing, like Neville Goddard is, he has like a whole bunch of books on like imaging before you go to bed, because what you're doing is you're setting that image into your subconscious so that you can manifest it into your reality. You should look him up. I'm not going to spoil it for you.
Yeah, no, I will.
I think you'll really love him. What does that image look like for you before you go to bed?
I mean, it's really funny because it's really simple. It's like just a great big, beautiful bedroom that I wake up in with lots of light and just happy. Like that's what I really resonates the most with me, is like just waking up and being happy to be like awake and get to start my day and just like love that space that you're in. And I kind of skip to when I walk down into my kitchen and, I've got my dream kitchen, of course.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a greenhouse nook and great big farm sink. And it's just like a blown out version of mine. But it, like my kids come in to have breakfast and it's just happiness, and they're kind of helping. And it's just that's kind of my favorite one to go through because I believe in it, I believe that at some point, while it may not all look exactly like that, I'm going to be like, this is it. This was the dream, and by then I'll have other things that I'm manifesting. And that's what I love about getting to this place in life that I don't know. I feel very lucky that I took a shift and started caring about myself enough to chase after dreams and ambitions again. And just trying to find, there's a lot of other crap that goes along with it. I'm sure, anybody who is trying to find that like absolute, not just abundance, but just in syncness with the world and yourself and your family. There's a lot of things you have to figure out about yourself and figure out why you do things and figure out your triggers and figure out, how you can be a better person and who you've been before that you don't want to be anymore. And that comes with a whole lot of work. But that's also really beautiful too, because especially if you're raising humans, you get to try and be better for them. So
I love all of that. That's so beautiful. What did you have to heal for yourself, right? Like the past Katie, like what aspect of yourself did you have to heal?
I mean, how deep are we going here?
I'm going into the deep end. Let's go. Diving board.
There was sexual abuse as a child that went completely unnoticed. And what's really interesting is kind of as an adult, I mean, I have an amazing family. My natal unit is incredible. They're successful, they're caring. But this was not noticed. And kind of as an adult having my own children, and I didn't fear them being, molested or otherwise. What I feared was them responding, as young kids, the same way that I did. And so I started to recognize me kind of being, I don't know, overbearing when it came to just like very normal things that
Helicopter mom, I think that's what they call it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not really like that. Like I'll let them go play on the monkey bars and everything. But it was like when my kid found out that he had a penis, and started touching it all the time, I was like, I had to like work through that. And I know that's like, that sounds, but like little kids, yeah, it's there, and I finally had to start telling people, they're like, I think he has to go pee. And I'm like, no, he just has a penis and he's going to touch it. So I'm pretty sure that's how it works. I don't know for sure. But so, I mean, like, that's just one really small version, I mean, there's other panic moments where my daughter will go to like a friend's house and I feel like, yeah, of course, like the parents are sweet and cool. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, but like, what if? And then, my kids have serious talks really early, but I think really the hardest part has been just realizing the impact, like emotionally, that it had on me. I think that I've done a decent job of working through it in parenting, because I realized that all early enough. But what I didn't realize was how affected I was by the fact that it wasn't noticed, and that is, I mean, it's hard to explain because it's taken years of therapy for me to even get to. But, and it's almost something that like the moment that I realized it, and this will happen, and this is going to happen in therapy. This is what therapy is all about. The moment I realized it was like, I take it back. I don't want to know any of this, this is going to be too hard to deal with and too hard to work through. And, do I talk to my family about it, or do I just let them be because they don't need this on them, but, it's been transformative in kind of just understanding why I've let people kind of walk all over me or underestimate me or think things about me that weren't true in the past. I just kind of let the big things go so that I can just keep the peace. And it's so much to do with that. And I think that, I'm talking about a big extreme thing, but there's so much in childhood that can cause those kinds of reactions later in life, and even with the best parents, and sure. I'm always wondering like, okay, what are my kids going to need to go to therapy for?
When you feel that, right? Like when you feel the trauma, where do you feel it at?
Everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, everywhere. It's really interesting for me. It's like, and it can be different for different things. Sometimes I'll be triggered by something smaller, and that will just kind of give me like a gut reaction. I can feel it in my body, and I can almost like talk myself through that because it's so physical. But other times it's like a building anxiety, and you don't really realize it's there until your hands are tingling and your brain isn't working properly, and everything can make you like want to scream. And anybody with anxiety, I suffer from anxiety and depression, and
it's okay to say that. Like, it's
I'm
okay.
all about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something that it's not something that I've always, just anxiety I've always struggled with. Depression came kind of with some marital issues that rocked me. I was devastated, and situation.
you did get divorced, right? Like you were a single mom of 3 for a while, right?
We didn't get divorced. We've been separated twice now. And So yeah, this it's hard.
I'm sure. I'm not. Look, it is being married, or anyone with kids who has, maybe they might not be married, but they might co-parent, right? Like it's tough. It's work, and I think we're so caught up in this idea of perfection that we expect things to be a certain way, and when they're not, we automatically go to, like, this other part of ourselves that is disappointed. And I don't know, I mean, that is, I'm not the perfect husband either, right? Like I'm not the perfect spouse. Like I have my flaws, I have my trauma, like you're talking about with anxiety and depression. Like I struggle with that like everyone else. I'm a human being.
Right.
um but for like, and I'm just learning, like I'm not perfect at healing or like talk therapy. I haven't done that yet. Like I want to be I want to be in that arena. Like I want to try it, but I also want to try other modalities of different types of therapy to kind of connect with the body, because I have those triggers too. Whenever I'm triggered by something, or if I have an automatic reaction to something, it's trauma from somewhere in my life. And I want to, instead of running from it, like I've done most of my life, like I want to explore it now. Did you, like, I mean, when you feel those triggers, do you have the tools now to deal with that because of therapy?
I do. I definitely do. I can't say I do it perfect every time. It's really interesting because I was speaking with my friend who's the life coach the other day, and she was talking about being in alignment, right? And just how important it is, and knowing what your core values are, not just surface level, like, oh, I value my family and love and money or whatever you're going to say, like, your like deeper core values, knowing what they are. And as soon as you're out of alignment with those values, and a lot of times, I mean, gosh, we had such a great conversation, and it'll probably air in a couple of weeks, but as soon as you're out of alignment with those values, you're either most likely going to feel self-conscious or triggered, right? And she said this, and it brought me back to, I mean, not back, I immediately realized that I'd been at a barbecue last weekend, and it was at one of my best friend's house, her and her husband, their 4 kids, like all of our kids are just best friends. And we have like family sleepovers. We could just spend all day, every day together. Their house is my house. And it's just, we have this beautiful friendship, and it's awesome. Right. So I feel amazing at their house. I'm always in alignment at their house. But we were having this barbecue, and there was something going on that was out of alignment. I was totally out of alignment with. So like I go and grab my ukulele, and I just kept like just going off and just like sitting by myself and playing the ukulele, which totally, like, that's like my Ativan, like that thing. It's like, it fixes me. And it's one of the most special things that's happened to me since my kids came along. But it was because like I had to center myself, and I was out of alignment. I didn't feel comfortable, and we wound up, and it was fine. Like it was fine. I could handle myself, but I also just was like, I'm not feeling good right now. Sure. And then, we were the first ones to leave, and it was all good. It wasn't like traumatic or weird or anything like that. But when she said, when you feel out of alignment, you're either going to feel self-conscious or triggered. And at different points during the day, I felt both of those things. And I'm like, and it didn't make sense in this space, but yet here I was, and it just made so much sense to me, So there is so much, and it can't just all come from your therapist, because I mean, first of all, I've had probably 4 or 5 different therapists now. And then there's marital therapists, and they've all been amazing and served me wonderfully in those different times. But then there comes a point sometimes where you're like, this isn't serving me anymore. And so then you need somebody else, the same way that talk therapy is only going to help on certain levels, but there's always going to be a certain amount of work that you have to be willing to put in yourself for yourself. You have to find the thing that you can go and do to like bring you back to yourself and back to life and center yourself. And whether that's yoga or running or whatever, hitting a golf club, taking, doing deep breathing. And I use a lot of different things, but yeah, I just thought that was so fascinating because without knowing that, and I think I recognized it then, I just didn't have all those like that sentence to place it, but there's something really beautiful about being in alignment, understanding your values, knowing who you are, and then being able to recognize, hey, no, something's not right here. And I need to go ahead and fix it somehow. And it also allows you to better understand and want to care for other people, which is the best part,
Sure. Yeah. No, I'm flowing with everything that you're saying. I think we don't I don't know. We don't know what we don't know, right? And talk therapy allows us to talk through a lot of those emotions that we may be newly getting used to or not even acquainted with yet, or we're kind of feeling things and we don't know what that is because we pushed it down for so long. So, I mean, talk therapy is a really good starting point, but you're right. Like at a certain point, you get to a point where you need to advance that a little bit more and do the work, do different types of work. Have you ever tried hypnotherapy?
No, I I feel like I'm immune to hypnosis. I would be super down for it, but I'm like, I don't know. I just don't think my brain is too like hyperactive. I'm afraid I couldn't do it.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard that before too. I'm just turning,
But I'll try anything. I mean,
there's a new, I think it's RTT. I just heard about this too. Rapid transformational therapy. I don't know exactly what it looks like yet. I just recently heard someone told me about it, but I need to check that out. I don't know if it's hypnotherapy or something similar to that, but definitely check that out for yourself. I think exploring different modalities of therapy for what looks good for you, what feels good, what gets you that highest form of energy resonance or that connection to the higher part of yourself is so important because for me it's just been a long road and now I'm just starting to heal really from just trauma, not just and when people hear about trauma they automatically assume like childhood things. Yeah, that could be that too, but it's also like in adulthood, early adulthood, it's in everything. Even with sports, even with in my professional life, everything has accumulated to this point. Even when I was 21 and going out with friends on a weekend, right? Like healing from that trauma because I was trying to numb things. I was trying to numb that pain of trying to get acceptance or try to I wasn't being myself. I was ignoring my true self. And so like all those years of just ignoring that has accumulated to a lot of energy that is stuck in my body and I haven't dealt with it. So just becoming conscious to that and start feeling that in my body has really opened me up to new areas of energy that I had no clue about, and allows me to function at a high level, not just in, I'm not talking about in business or in the work world. I'm talking about in life with my relationships, with my wife, with my children, with the podcast, just being able to open myself up and be more vulnerable and not feeling ashamed for that. I don't know if has helped you in the same way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're so right. Like, that trauma, honestly, like there are such smaller it's more for me, it's actually more about, it's not to take away from it. It's horrible but I feel like I actually dealt with that at a younger age, but it was what came of it, and then and then I was in a very abusive relationship in high school. And that trauma was like something totally new. And then but those are big things. And the truth is that, yeah, there are a lot of traumas that are just these kind of small moments, and they call them like those core memories.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, so many of them are amazing, those amazing core memories, but then you'll start to notice these other core memories that just pop into your head, like this one time when someone said something to you that kind of always comes back, and like those things, those are traumas. And it's like figuring out what it was. Like maybe it was something more, maybe it was something bigger. So yeah, when we talk about trauma and healing, it's about all of the things. And it's not about going, oh, this is somebody else's fault, or this is, this is why I am the way I am. It's about like taking it all on yourself and being willing to be the best version of yourself while healing those things. It will transform you.
Yeah. Every trauma, like even the deepest ones, even the hardest ones, is an opportunity to grow as a individual or a soul being, right? Like, and I know it's hard for people to hear that and accept that, because they want to be the person that says, no, how is this good for me? Right. Like, and this is a tough conversation because there are some horrific things that happen in this world that we can't explain. And it sounds cold to say that, hey, this is an opportunity for growth, because some people lose people, right? Like some people are no longer here, and people are still healing from that. And I don't know if you ever heal completely from that, but it's an opportunity to be in that and to feel that and to experience it. Because what are we here for? Like through my meditations, through a lot of the spiritual work that I've gone through, if everything was perfect, if it would be assimilation, it would be, we wouldn't grow at all. It's like, I had a meditation one time and it was deep. It was like a vision of a city, and like everything was calculated. Everything was perfect. Everything was efficient. But there was nothing to learn from that. You do a couple of rounds, like you do a day in that city, and everything that's going to happen, right? You know exactly what time is it? Oh, this is going to happen now. What growth is that? It's not. But when you have chaos, you introduce chaos to this reality. What you have is growth, right?
Yeah, it's true. And it's, I have so many things that I have to say to all of that.
Go ahead.
Well, first, just talking about the bigger traumas and the healing and the growth and the finding a purpose somehow after, my cousin is somebody who I work with, and she lost her son. It was 3 years ago, right around Mother's Day. And he's 8. He was riding his bike. We had just been with him. Him and my oldest son were just like, barely see each other, but just like brothers the second that they see each other, and that just rocks a whole family and group of people to its core, community, everything, and she actually recently did a podcast where she just told like the whole story. And quite honestly, we talk every day and I know a lot of things, but I've never heard her tell the whole story start to finish, but then talk about that's what she does. She's on Instagram and she's sharing her grieving journey and growth journey. And she's now been in recovery for 2 years and going, her husband as well. And it's like, she is this completely new person who is still broken forever, because it doesn't go away, but she is still growing from this and is an incredible mom to her 2 other babies. And it's incredible to watch, because I can't imagine even being as close to her as I am and experiencing the way that I did what happened. There's no way to imagine what that's like. And then to know that somehow she has like risen from these ashes, and there are people out there who can help anybody who is going through this, because I think that you really do need people who understand it at a deeper level, and I know that that's absolutely what has helped get her through. But yeah, there is still something, and it's a hard thing to say. It's a hard thing to hear. It is
because it's the pain, right? Like you're feeling like right now, I can see you're emotionally, you're displaying that, right? Like you're connecting with her at that level, because we have children, and to lose one of them unexpectedly, we don't want to think about. People that go through that experience allows us to come together as a community and connect, and to feel their pain and to love them. And over time, that love helps them grow. It doesn't replace the fact that that person's not there anymore, but it supports them, and it lets them know that they're not alone, right? And I wish I could take everything bad out of this world, like especially for my kids, like I don't want them to grow up in a world that is just full of hate and full of the divide. And it seems like that's where we're going, in this world right now. And I'm hoping by the work that we do, leveling up, right? And putting this out there and allowing them to hear this, like being vulnerable in this moment right now with you. I don't have all the answers, right? Like I just do the work, and I try to work on myself so that way I can record this, and like my son can listen to this when he gets older and listen to the vulnerability that I have in my voice and in this conversation, and like take that to heart and know that, yeah, I mean, there is some bad things that happen in this world, but I believe because we are human consciousness, that we are so much more powerful than what we believe, that it's all for this experience of evolution, and it's all for the greater good. It's at the end of the day, like we will remember that at some point in our evolution of human consciousness, that this is one stage or one chapter in this book of life, and life is eternal. This isn't it for us. Like this is, it's been my experience.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And that was kind of like, for me, and it was before really I had been through anything major in my marriage, and, losing Jackson, and, anything massive. I just had a moment of like, what mark am I leaving? And it wasn't about earning more money, and it wasn't about having like however many followers here or there or anywhere. I was just like, if I'm going to be out here on social media, I want to have something to say, I want to be able to provide value, and I want to be intentional about it. And I think for me, the beauty in that is that it's helped me find a whole world of people who are doing that, And so when I talk to somebody who lives in the negativity that's being fed to us by all of the news outlets who feed and make money off of the fear that they are just like one thing after the other, we're just going to keep you scared and keep you here and keep you worried all the time, so you can't focus on anything else, and we make more money off of you. I'm like, there's more. There is good. You just have to like turn down the noise and start paying attention. It doesn't mean that you're being irresponsible for not knowing every single thing that's going on. You can still find out what's going on and care and do things about it, but you cannot live in that space and provide value to the world.
Yeah, you can't, because it's like a lower vibration, like a lower consciousness almost, where
Absolutely.
And it's like when you're in that, like your level drops too, right? And it's in doing the things that we're talking about, like healing, talk therapy, hypnotherapy, if you want to do that, like running, exercising, diet, meditation, all of the self-care modalities allows you to raise that vibration or energy to a point where you start feeling different. You start connecting with higher vibes, better vibes.
Yeah, you'll attract it.
And it overflows in other areas of your life.
Yeah, and it's amazing.
It is amazing. It is amazing. I mean, I just these conversations are just so important, right? Like just it's hard for me to be vulnerable because I've always had this persona of the stoic, of the strong stoic. And it's been my mask for a long time in my life. And so like, even the ego is like chirping, right? Like right now, of like, don't show your emotion or don't show the vulnerable side of you, because vulnerability is weakness. And it's still, that's something that I'm dealing with. And it's something that I'm just trying to be more accepting of. And I mean, I don't know what it is for you, but we all have masks that we carry and we put on for society. We want to be this version of this and that version of that. And I've really aligned to my heart, and my heart has been my North Star. It's funny because like meditation's so weird, because it's like, it gives you messages that you like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Like, like
that feeling.
like I can't even believe I'm going to say this, but like, I had this visualization of like my heart being like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Just follow Rudolph, right? Like just follow Rudolph, go after that and just follow that. And it'll point you whenever you feel that high, like sensation, that vibration in your heart, you're on your path.
I love it.
Because we live too much in our logical, analytical mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's tough because we want to question everything that we've been programmed by society, right? Like, and social media can do that, because I mean, I look at the statistics in the literature about what scares me is just like the suicide rates of teenage girls because of social media.
Kids
that scares me. That's yeah, absolutely. That scares me. It's just like, am I doing enough? Right? Like, that's my question that I ask, is like, am I doing enough to kind of give them a strong mental sense of their well-being?
That is so loaded, and it's my constant, and it's hard. Like right now, my husband and I, we're living apart. We are in love and working so hard, and it looks a lot different than the first time that we were separated, because I was broken, and that, again, like, well, I don't know. Can we go like 3 hours? Because there's so much I could say on all of that, because of how much growth that happened between the first time and the second time, and how I could show up for my kids, so different. But, then I have kids who have gone through this as well, and they need things from me. And it's really hard sometimes to give all of that. And as parents, like, that, like, no matter what your situation is, it's hard to give them. And I'm not talking about like the crap at Target that they want. I'm talking about like all of the attention that they need, and then like figuring out what those things are. I figured out that my sons are actually they're super emotional. They're both empaths. They will come and like need to be on me. They would crawl back inside me if they could. Like, that's who they are, and I love it. I think I'd like, at the same time, I'm also very much like a personal space person. So it's so hard. Like, I appreciate this in them, but I'm like, okay, like now it's time to give me a little space. But so, maneuvering, figuring that out is one thing, but then there's my daughter who doesn't ask for hugs, won't tell me she needs a hug, but she wants it just as bad, and it was just a fleeting moment where I said something about her and somebody mentioned something like that, and I was like, that's her, and then I kind of paid more attention to it, and I started giving her the love out of nowhere and seeing her response to that, And after a couple of years of that, she's almost 8 in July. After a couple of years of that, I think she must have overheard me saying it to somebody, because I think that there are a lot of kids like that, and I think I was like that, to be completely honest, and so she overheard me saying it, and she commented on it to me. But like when we talked about it, it kind of opened up this door to where you can I will show you love even though you're not asking for it, because I know that's what you need. But you also can always ask me for it, even if you are in so much trouble, even if like it's the middle of the night and like you just wake up and you need a hug. And again, like that's not like they don't get to just wake me up all night every night. But when you can kind of notice those things within your kids, and depending on the situation, where we're living in a difficult situation right now and they need a little bit extra, I don't know, figuring all this stuff out about yourself, caring about it, recognizing things, getting in alignment, understanding your values allows you to start noticing when others are in alignment and when they're out of alignment, and start recognizing, especially with your kids, what their values are. And then, oh my gosh, getting to help them find all of this at a younger age. Like, what better gift is there in the whole world? I can't imagine if I could have been taught to feel happy at such a young age on my own. And I mean, it's not easy. They'll probably need some help at some point as well. But I do think it's a beautiful thing. And I think that since you are here and being vulnerable, which to me is, and I told this to my husband because he's much the same way. He has walls up, he's strong, he has a position of great leadership and importance. And when he is vulnerable, he feels the most strong to me. He feels the most secure and the most like trustworthy. And it's not about just like crying tears or whatever. There can be crying, that's fine. But it's just that wall comes down and he may feel vulnerable, but I feel like he's so strong, and that's what's that's what all of this is about.
Yeah. I was totally lost and wrapped in what you're saying. I don't even know. I had a thought there for a second.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to say. My daughter's the same way. Like I know when she's acting out, we call it her love tank, right? Like her love tank is low.
Yeah.
And I have to fill it up. And then when I fill that tank up, just giving her hugs and just verbal, communication about how great she is and how not perfect. I should say not perfect, but like the way that she performed an act, like, oh baby, you did that so well, right? You did a great job at that. Watching her change like instantly, like, I mean, it's instantaneous, like the change, the flip. And when I start feeling
she's
that
your
tank
middle,
back
isn't
up,
she?
she's my middle.
Yeah, same.
And she is a middle.
Yep.
But it's and I'm sure they'll we say the same thing about our parents. We say, oh, if we only had, right? And they're going to say the same thing. Oh, if we only had. But it's all about being more aware of where you're at on your journey. That's all you can do. And there is no perfection. Like, strike that out. Like I said it earlier, but take that out. There is no perfection. Like there's no being perfect. There's always just becoming.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely. Becoming and being present as much as you can, showing that love, and then giving yourself grace.
Grace. I don't do that enough. I'm too hard on myself. I do. Yeah, for sure. Right. Like we all need a little bit of grace, self-induced grace, because I'm my own worst enemy. Perfectionism, right? For me, perfectionist, like it has to be a certain way or it's not the right way. But again, we're all becoming. It's a road, it's a path. It is a journey, and no one's going to be able to do it but you. It's your path.
Yeah.
You can definitely.
That's a hard part. But it's beautiful, it really is. And I'm always just like, it's going to make a good book someday. It's going to make a good movie. I don't know about movie, and even if that book is just my kids reading through all of my journals.
How many journals do you have now?
Oh my gosh, so many. I live in journals. And while I need organization in so many different ways, my journals are just all over the place. Like you can find, recipes to like 4 pages of a book that I plan to write to, some heartbreaking prayer and and then the next thing is going to be a training that I'm going to do. And it's
you write-
just there.
Do you write your meditations down?
No, I
No?
should, huh?
That's surprising. That's surprising. You got recipes in this thing.
I don't know. I don't know. It's probably just like marshmallows and Rice Krispie treats. But I'm like, you put the cereal in the milk. Okay, got it. Yeah, no, they're very much all over the place. But
I've just started writing my dreams down, like my dreams.
okay, yeah.
I've been experimenting with dreams lately. Like there's a book I don't have in front of me. I'm sorry, guys. That is about dream work and like talking with the higher consciousness, whatever you want to call that, about bringing visions forward to you in your dreams. It's pretty crazy how I haven't become lucid in a dream, but yet there has been, like, let's say you want to, if you want to take a certain path or something, or you want to explore a certain a new career or something, you just ask, like, there's a way you formulate a question and you ask the question, like, what would this, what would pursuing this thing bring about in my experience before you go to bed? Like, and you say a prayer and you talk to God, or you talk to source, or you talk to the universe and say, I'll bring this to me in my dream. And I've been having some crazy dreams. Like, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, right? So I'm going back to school for psychology and counseling, and I just said, what would my life look like if I pursued this? And I had a dream. I was like in the ocean, and it got really rough. But I was on a body, like a boogie board, or whatever you want to call it, a body board, whatever you want to call that. And like I was having fun. Like it was just like waves were like they were getting pretty high, and like I was riding them and having fun, and I was surrounded by people. So I'm going to go with the positive on this one and say that it was a good time. So this is something that I should pursue. I don't want to go negative, but it's interesting.
Yeah, of course that's going to be rough, but in a beautiful, fun, amazing way. I have no doubt. But I love that. And I'm all about it. I have, I mean, people are just going to think I'm so weird after this, but it's fine.
What are you talking about? Like,
no. So since I was really young, I've always had, what felt like deja vus for a long time, until I started remembering, like recognizing the dreams. And they were dreams like weird enough that I would tell, they weren't weird. They were like super mundane, like, Mom, I had this weird dream that I was in my history class and Evan was there, who's my cousin, and like kind of just explain it to her and then move on. And then, that was kind of the first moment, was when I like sat down in my first class and was like, oh my God, I'm here. Like, this is the exact same classroom. This is the exact same, that's her. And I was like, and I told somebody about it, And so that has happened a number of times. And so writing down dreams is really special and crazy. And now it still happens. And I love what you're talking about, because I love the idea of asking for it, because for me, it's always kind of like a looking back thing. And I read it personally, and I keep kind of getting that, like, knowing that I'm not wrong. So you can tell me I don't care if you think I'm wrong, but when I find myself in those positions, it means that I'm going the way I'm supposed to go, and I don't know if I have the ability to like dream the future on purpose, but it is like a really beautiful thing every time that it happens, because I'm like, okay, like this is where I'm supposed to be. And it may not be anything more than just a place at a table. Or it happened one time when I was at a conference sitting with a group of women, and I was like, I remember having this dream and thinking how weird it was, because we went to high school together, and like, why would I be in Dallas with you? But this is where I'm totally supposed to be. And so I love that. And I have heard, and there is one meditation that I do that kind of asks for that. But then I had a really strange dream. I did get something out of it though, so that worked.
Now you got to tell me. Like, you can't just leave me hanging. Like, what was a strange dream?
My kids and I were having to live with my parents, and I asked for like a sign, something that was going to help me in my dream. And I have a sauna that is not put together. And then I had Peloton, and the dream was just about pulling the Peloton into my mother's like extra living room, which, oh, by the way, gets used zero, right? But it's just pretty and she wants it to be there and pretty. So it was just funny. I told her the next morning that, Jesus told me that I need to bring the Peloton into the house, and it worked. I got the Peloton in. So
There you go.
I'm like, that's all I need to do. Like Jesus says to do a lot of other things. All right.
Is that the most prolific dream, like premonition that you've had?
No. I mean, that was more of, I don't know. I think I might've taken advantage of a situation in that one.
Oh.
But no, I've had a lot of, I think that, it's hard because you'll have a difficult dream, and without asking for something to give you a sign or knowledge, you just kind of chalk it up to some random dream, right?
Sure.
And so that's, I think, why when I have these moments where I'm like, oh, wow, sometimes I can remember the day I had the dream. And so for me, it's just like looking back and going, okay, I'm on the right path. Like I'm going the way that I'm supposed to be going. Because a lot of times in those dreams, something's off and I don't understand it. It's like, why would I be at my parents' house watching my son play baseball? Like, why? That doesn't make any sense. We own a home. We live up here. We have this beautiful world, but, then sure enough, like there I am. And so getting to pay more attention to the dreams as we have them, I think. And then, like you said, like asking for answers to questions and paying attention to the weirdness. Dreams are so weird. They're so wacky.
They are so weird because there's a lot of interpretation in that, right? Like I asked one person, like, what did this mean? And they're like, oh, well, the elephant in the room meant that you're open to new experiences. I'm like, I literally just took it as an elephant in the room, and now it's open to new experiences. I don't know. I mean, but there's so much, it's so open for interpretation.
Yeah.
And you don't really know what's true and what's not. I guess like I like your take on the ocean though. Like it gets a little rough, but you're surrounded by some cool people and you're gonna have some fun. So like immediately, the mind wants to go negative and say, oh crap, like hurricane's coming, I'm not gonna be able to do this. But I think it's our way to tap into that higher part of ourselves. Like I think everyone can do this and receive guidance. Like I think what you're doing personally, I think you're tapping into like a future database of consciousness. And it's just like, anybody who predicts the future, right? Like it's, I think everyone can do this. Thomas A. Campbell, who is one of my favorite physicists, talks about this, that because we are consciousness, that we can tap into that future probability database and see like future probabilities, and experience that. And then when it happens, you're kind of like, oh, whoa, this is crazy. But it's just your consciousness. So you're able to see it coming.
We only know so little about the brain. Like we don't have any concept of what our brain is capable of. And at one point during one of my science-y college courses, I was pre-med originally. I had a professor who talked about how like essentially your dream is your brain is this computer. Like it's constantly taking in like so much information, right? I mean, it's wild how much information we're taking in just by looking around a room and knowing what everything is. But then it's all of that subconscious and parts of the brain we don't even know what they do yet. And it's just computing things. So the idea that your brain can actually, compute what may happen in the future, it doesn't seem so far out to me, which is why that's why the idea of manifestation for me, even before it was like something that I really embraced and understood and wanted to be a part of and needed to do and saw the actual results of, made all the sense in the world, but believing and manifesting, trusting in yourself and in the power of our brain, which I mean,
But is it
wild.
I don't think it's the brain that's in manifesting that for us. I think it's our ability to bring it in to this reality, through our intention, right? Like our power, like I think the brain, man, I just think the brain is just, it's just a brain,
It's an organ.
It's just an
No, I
organ.
hear you. I hear you. But I mean, I think that to be able to utilize like the power of it to then find that higher frequency and vibration and tap into that subconscious. I mean, our subconscious is part of our brain
Yeah.
but it's bigger. And I think that I mean, we know that there's studies of like the monks who have all prayed in a town and brought change like in health, like actual studies of this. And it's
Yeah.
wild. It's something else. Like what are we missing out on? What are we passing up around here?
I don't know. I think in the heart too. I think like when your brain, your heart, and your gut are aligned, like that's where the magic happens. I feel like
Yeah.
you align to that higher vibration and you can manifest quicker, or experience crazy phenomena. Man, I could talk to you all night. I can't
I
believe
know.
it. How can people find out more about you? Where can they reach you?
Yeah, you can reach me at levelafternext.org. Find me on Instagram at KT. It's the letter KT and with an E, Barnett. So it's Katie Ann Barnett.
Katie, I can't thank you enough for going vulnerable, for hanging out with me tonight. I truly enjoyed every second of this conversation. I can't thank you enough.
Same. Thank you so much.